Hello, my name is Alejandra Rivera, and today I will be presenting my humanities project titled The Latina Myth, analyzing the depiction of Latinas in romantic comedies. We have fooled the aliens. It was unintended, but we send them a completely wrong message about who we are. Think about this. How would you explain to these intelligent beings from another galaxies what the human race is? Does it look like this? Because this is the drawing we sent them in 1972 in the Pioneer 10 space probe. It is estimated to reach its destination in millions of years. In the meantime, if an alien happens to find it, it can infer that in our planet, there are two types of beings. Those who do things, and those who don't do anything. For example, a woman standing. My question is, why did we decide to send this drawing and not this one, for example, or this one? If we intended to represent human life on Earth, none of these two drawings should have Caucasian traits, as there are more people with African or Asian traits in our planet. Today, these two figures are spinning around the universe, and we don't know what will happen to them. Something similar happens with the images we send by the media, images that cast off, adrift, without really considering if they represent us. To picture it better, our mind works like a computer. It groups with folders that have similar characteristics, and to each folder, the mind puts a title and a cover photo. The image that appears on the cover of the folder is the sign that helps us understand the content. Synthesizing helps people better manage time and resources. The fact that the computer always shows the same image to refer to the whole is dangerous, mainly when it's applied to people. The computer in this case is the media. It is they who are responsible for choosing the image that illustrates each folder. These signs, generally disseminated by the media, have an implicit ideological bias, and they are stereotypes. Mainly, the wide quantity of stereotypes can be found in the film industry. The use of stereotypes affects gender, race, and specifically the ethnic group of Latinas. This brings me to my research question. How does the portrayal of Latinas, women in the romantic comedy, affects the perception society has on this community? In order to answer this question, I will explain the following concepts and analyze how each one contributes to the stereotypes created on Latin women. The roadmap would include gender in film, Latinas in film, Latinas in rom-com, and finally our artifact, the film Made in Manhattan. How women have been represented in film, the participation of Latinas in film, and how Latinas have been misrepresented in rom-com will serve as a base history to analyze the representation of Latinas in the artifact chosen, the film Made in Manhattan. The analysis will then explain the effect of these stereotypes, finishing off with significance. We will start off with gender in film. Historically, genders have been misrepresented, specifically women. The romantic film genre portrays inequalities in the roles of gender, instituting inaccurate character representations and contributing to the creation of false gender dichotomies. The male character usually plays the role of the physically and psychologically strong. On the other hand, woman is presented as peaceful and independent. Romantic comedies, aka rom-com, is a genre that shows the development of a romance that becomes a comic situation. Romantic comedies are known for presenting an extensive use of gender inequalities. For example, we can mention the movie Chasing Poppy. The protagonist, Tomas Fuentes, is portrayed as masculine and successful. The three women in the film follow the gender norms of a character that is feminine, women that are provocative, and wear makeup. Chasing Poppy is one of the many romantic comedies that encourage gender stereotypes, specifically in the Latino community. The ways so different that films represent genders have also impacted different cultures, in this case, the Latina community. Historically, Latinas have been misrepresented, but before explaining how their image have been shifted, we first need to understand who are Latinas. They are the segment of the U.S. population that traces their root to the Spanish-speaking Caribbean and Latin America. It includes people from Brazil and excludes people born in Spain. Latinas is a cultural term. After having a general information on Latinas, we can now explain how are they portrayed in film. Narrow characterization of a Latin woman, promoted by historical limited opportunities, have contributed to misinformation regarding the professional potential of this community. In the 1980s, a monograph that concentrated on labor examined the Latino population in Los Angeles, Texas, New York, and Chicago. The story portrayed the Latino woman as subordinated, head householder, and in charge of home labor. Latina women were only considered to work as housekeepers, child care providers, and cleaners inside the homes of the U.S. government officials. Because they had limited opportunities, society kept the image of them not being able to go higher. Latinas are more than domestics, they're activists, and they're prominent leaders, participating in community politics as well as agents of social change. The film industry is the one responsible for a repetition of this image, and it is seen in the film industry where the wrong image of Latinas remain remarkably consistent. They appear first in the 1920s as the female clown, which represented a woman as a sexual object or as a gold digger, and the half-breed harlot, which is a woman that cannot do anything by herself. These stereotypes are prominent in romantic comedies, which leads us to how are they represented in this genre? Before explaining how Latinas have been misrepresented in romantic comedies, we first need to understand the stereotypes that surround them. They include housekeeper, which are maids, provocative, which are known to wear tight and sexy clothing, loud, which are talkative and obnoxious, the Latin lover, which tries to attract men and are very sexual, and the single mother, which a father figure is missing. The image of Latinas has been shifted as one that affects their weight up in society because of their socioeconomic status, language barrier, and gender. It is important to say that not every Latina is part of the concepts mentioned. This representation of Latinas have been and continue to be included in the film industry, specifically in the romantic comedy genre, which directs us to our next point. Latina women in romantic comedies. The romantic film genre portrays inequalities in the cultural groups of Latinas, instituting inaccurate character representations and contributed to the creation of false stereotypes. The film industry creates images that impact the lives of people and the way society looks at them. The male characters are usually Caucasian, which are rich businessmen, and the Latina is presented as someone that needs a man to be better. They are represented as not intelligent and only serve as maids. Latin women in romantic comedies have stereotypical characters that include maids, exotic lovers, immigrants, and single mothers. These stereotypes create images on Latinas without them having the autonomy to decide if it represents their identity. The description of gender and Latinas in film set base to analyze our next point, which is the artifact chosen, the film A Maid in Manhattan. The film A Maid in Manhattan is directed by Wayne Wang, and it presents the story of a senatorial candidate that falls in love with a hotel maid since he thinks she's a rich woman when he sees her wearing an expensive dress. The protagonist is played by Jennifer Lopez, which represents Marisa Ventura, and his male companion is Rolf, which is Christopher Marshall in the movie. The film and its stereotypes will be analyzed by aspects, and each aspect includes examples as well as evidence from the film that provide answers to our research question. Each aspect provides insights on Latina stereotypes and how are they portrayed in film, specifically in the movie A Maid in Manhattan. The first aspect is the cultural. The cultural aspect relates to the ideas and the social behavior of Latinas. In the movie, they address the term of the half-breed harlot, the provocative way of dressing, and the heavy accent. The protagonist Marisa Ventura is shown to achieve her manager position and lady of a senator because she was in a relationship with a wealthy man. This portrays the stereotypes of the hard-breed harlot. Latin woman cannot achieve higher without a wealthy man by her side. The next aspect is the economic. The economic factor has to do with what a character does for a living. Miss Ventura is presented as a maid, the working class, a person that cannot achieve more. The Latina stereotype of a maid is the main factor of the movie. Because she's a maid, it's difficult for her to attain a manager position in the hotel she works for. Because she's a maid, she's looked down, and this makes reference to the Latina community as a poor minority. An example of this is shown when Marisa, the protagonist, needed help at a front desk in a mall and tries talking to the front desk lady. Once the front desk woman realizes she's a Latina maid, decides to keep talking to her friend. This is an example of how Latinas are looked down as a working class. The front desk lady says, "No wet, ma'am? You have to wait, okay?" And then she answered back to her friend, "No, she's just a maid." The next example, or the next aspect, is the mental. Excuse me. The mental factor analyzes the way stereotypes affect the perception Latinas have of themselves. Latinas learn to adopt many of the features that describe them and are taught to respect them. This aspect portrays the level of impact stereotypes produce on people's lives. An example of this is shown in the movie when the mom of the protagonist says, "You know who we are. We are Latinas. We clean houses." Or when she also says, "Keep dreaming dreams that will never happen." The next example is the familial. The stereotypes include single mother and a man leaving the house. In the movie, Marisa is a single mom taking care of her 10-year-old child. This stereotypes creates a general understanding that all Latinas have the same characteristics, since they have been portrayed the same throughout the years. Keeping a traditional way of living is also shown in the movie. It's described Latin families as sticking to what society perceives of them. For example, being a maid. As we mentioned in the last characteristic, Miss Ventura's mom believes Latinas need to stick working as maids and cannot think of going higher on job opportunities or even in relationships. We see this in the following example when her mom says, "What were you thinking going out with someone like that?" which she refers to Chris Marshall, the senator Marisa was going out with. The next aspect is the social. Social is one of the aspects of the movie that covers the variables we have mentioned. Under these aspects, we can find stereotypes such as not intelligent, not knowing English well, gossipy, and talkative. Throughout the movie, Ms. Venturas have played the characters, creating what known as stereotypes on Latin women. A rich woman talks to her and wants to know her level of English and asks her to know the difference between top and caramel. The romantic comedy A Maid in Manhattan can be considered as the base movie that includes throughout its protagonists most of the stereotypes input by society on Latin women. After analyzing the previous characteristics, one can now answer the research question. How does the stereotypical portrayal of the Latina woman in the romantic comedies affect the perception society has on this community? The movie presents stereotypes lived by Latinas instead of showing how they can be overcome. The stereotypical maid should be replaced with the successful woman, creating equality at all levels. It is time to focus on what is essential, eliminating stereotypes, and replacing them with a set of realities. In conclusion, stereotypes are a social construction that plays a very important role in people's lives. They serve as a reference point for the formation of identity. This is presented in the film A Maid in Manhattan. The stereotypes presented in the film are the ones that affect Latina society today. It affects the way Latinas look at themselves. Film nowadays should produce a content that is equal. Talking about equality does not mean that women and men are identical, or that every ethnic group is the same. It is time for inclusion at all levels, because everyone is equal. Thank you.